Well, hey there everyone, and welcome back to Stuff in Excel. I'm Richard, and what we're going to do in this video is take a look at some of the shortcuts and tricks that you can use when you're working with dates and time in Excel. There's often many times when you need to put in a date, maybe the last date that you modified the file. Maybe you want the file to automatically put in the date every time you open the file. Maybe you want the file to update the time every time you make a change to the file. And there's a difference between static commands and active commands in Excel. So we're going to take a look at some of these tips and tricks. Hopefully there'll be something in there for you. Let's just get into it. So let's start with this file and start working with our shortcuts and tricks for dates and time. Now this file is available to you if you go to the description section for the video and click on the link that is there. You can download the Excel file and follow along with everything we're doing in this video. In addition, I've added chapters so that you can find the specific shortcut or trick that you are wanting to learn how to use. So you don't have to watch the whole video to find the specific thing that you're looking for. So the first thing we're going to do is just look at how to put dates and time into our videos. So if we go up to the top of the screen in line 1, row 1, over in column C1, you will see that I've got a last date modified. This would be the date that I wanted to assign to the spreadsheet so that every time I open it up I can see the last date I worked on it. So this is a really simple command. You're simply going to hit Control and semicolon at the same time. And it's going to put the date into that column. Now I want you to notice, if you look up at the top of the screen, I've not hit enter yet. So if you look up at the top of the screen, it's still in general format. As soon as I hit enter for that cell, it's going to, and I go back to the cell, you'll notice that it changes it to a date format. Excel automatically recognizes that this is a date and will change that format automatically for you. Now, maybe in addition to the date last modified, you also want today's date. Now, this will be a command. Every time you open the file, it'll show the date that you've just now opened the file. It'll show today's date. It's just what it says, today's date. So how do I do that? It's actually very, very simple. We're going to say equals today, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. Again, I want you to notice that it is a general format. When I hit enter, it's going to put in the date, and it changes it to a custom format, not a date format. Actually, let me go back. It changes it to a date format. So I've got both of these in a date format. Now, it makes a little difference how you start with the format in some of these particular commands, but not necessarily with the dates. It automatically changes it to a date format. Now, if you want a different format, if you wanted a longer format for the date, you could certainly change the format of that date for that. Now, I want you to note that every time I reopen this file, this date is going to change. It's going to be updated to the date of the day that I open the file. This date will stay the same. It'll stay static until I hit Control semicolon again. But this date will update and will be the current date every time I open this file. Now let's look at time last modified. If I want to put in here the time that I modified this file, now again, it is currently a custom format. Let's just change it back to a general format for the sake of this. So we'll go in and we'll change this to it's a general format. I'm going to go put in the command Control Shift semicolon. So it's very similar to the date column up here in C1, but now I'm going to add shift to it. So Control Shift semicolon, and I hit enter. It's going to change this. I'm just going to go ahead and show it to you. When I hit enter, it changes it, leaves it as now changes it to a custom format. Okay. Now, what's interesting is if I really wanted to show the seconds in addition to the actual time on the clock, just the hours and minutes, if I started with this in a different format, so let's take that out of there, and let's change this back to a time format. So I'm going to start, instead of starting with a general format on that cell, I'm going to change it to a time format. And now when I put in my equals, or actually I'm just going to Control Shift semicolon, it's going to give me, and I hit enter, it gives me not only the hours and minutes, but gives me the seconds as well. See that? And it's now a time format instead of a custom format. So I can get the time, the hours, the minutes, and the seconds if I start with this as a time format. If I start with it as a general format or any other format, it's going to change it to a custom format. It's only going to give me hours and minutes. It won't give me the seconds. Now, there's another command we may want to do, and that is an active command so that time updates, just like we want today's date to update every time we open a file. The time would update every time we open the file, and that's a little bit different command. It's now again, I'm up at general format. If I hit equals now, open parenthesis, just leave the open parenthesis there. You can actually put in the closed parenthesis if you want, but I'm going to just leave it open. It's going to give me the date and the time. Okay, but the time is in a 24-hour format, not in a 12-hour format. What if I didn't want that format? What if I did not want to show the date? I've already got the date. I don't need the date. I just wanted the time this opens up. I can actually change that a little differently. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the form back. And we're going to change this. Let's go back and delete this. And let's start with this being a time format. So when I do that, if I now go back to this cell and type it equals now, open paren, and hit enter, it's going to just give me the time. Okay, it gives me the time, and this cell, every time I do anything to this spreadsheet, this will automatically change. So let me go show you. Let me go down here to sales quarter 8. Let's change that to 2000 just for the fun of it. I want you to pay attention to this cell, and I'm going to highlight it in yellow so it's easier for you to see. So I'm going to go down here to the sales quarter 1. I'm going to change that to 2000, and I want you to watch what happens to the time. Notice how that automatically updated and changed? Every time I do anything to the spreadsheet, the time will automatically change. If I go back and change this to 1098, which is what it was, it changed it again. It updated again. So this is an active command in the Excel spreadsheet. So it will continue to update every time I make a change to the spreadsheet. This right here, the last time modified, it actually is a fixed static time, and it really refers to the last time I saved the file, not really the last time the file was modified. So if you want to know the exact time to the second, the last time any change was made to the file, you need to use the equals now command. So let's go down to the date column in our spreadsheet, and let's assume that we want the same date for each one of these transactions. So let's say we want the date of 12/31/2024. That's the date that we want to put in there. Notice it automatically resized the column. And what we want to do is we want to copy this down. So one thing we might be tempted to do is to simply take this and drag this date all the way down to the bottom of our column. But when I do that, notice what it does. It added a date incrementally to each date. So it kept increasing the date by 1. I didn't want to do that. I want to have the same date on each line. So there's 2 ways I can do that. One way is to right-click, copy, highlight the range that I want these dates to go in, right-click, and paste. That will do it. Another way to do this, if we want to stop that, is to go back up and click on our date, hold down our control button, and while we're holding that, click on that little lower right bar. You notice it changed from a big fat plus sign to a sort of a crosshatch sign, and I just drag that down to my range, and it will copy the same date. So instead of copying it just by dragging the plus sign or that crosshatch, I'm going to hold the control button down while I drag that crosshatch, and it will give me the same date and will not increase those dates incrementally. So those are some tricks and shortcuts for doing dates and time in Excel. I hope that was helpful. If it is, make sure and subscribe to the channel. Click on the notification bell down at the bottom so that you get notified every time we have a new video come out. And we'll see you real soon right here on Stuff in Excel.